response to the other team, I have about 700 words. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really difficult to stand up at a mental health fair and argue against helping people who need mental health. In fact, that's not what we did at all. We never said that we don't think these people need to be helped. We never said that it's not in the best interest of law firms to do so. The burden on the affirmative team in this debate was to prove why senior partners have an obligation, have a duty to pay those fees for individuals in every circumstance. And we don't think they came anywhere close to fulfilling that burden, especially not with the rubbishly weak model Jess wanted to talk about. Because their analysis went like this. If X happens a lot in a law firm, then the owners of a law firm have an obligation to fix it. If X is mental health, you have Jess's speech. If X is cancer, you realize how stupidly dumb that point is, right? Like, they can't actually draw a nexus anywhere between the mental health duties, that happen at a law firm and the obligation of senior partners and the role that senior partners play in those law firms to do so. They had two questions they needed to answer. One, can we put responsibilities on partners? Two, what's best for employees, even if we can? They failed both counts. Firstly, Jess said on the topic that we have responsibilities on partners, they said, well, they help to form a culture, right? First question, how in God's name can you quantify the amount of effect mentally that an initiative put forward by a senior partner has on an individual who suffers a mental health problem? You can't do it, guys. Right? Like, we don't think that you can say, well, across the board, 50% of your mental anguish comes from the fact that you work at a law firm, right? We think everybody hates their goddamn jobs, Mr. Speaker. We don't think that that means that senior partners need to be paying. No, thank you, right? The second question to do with this is that it is incredibly morally arbitrary, ladies and gentlemen, as to what it is that causes any individual a mental health defect, right? I could work 10 hours a day and drink nothing but coffee, and I will love life, whereas you can work 4 hours a day, have a jumping castle outside your house and bang a model every night, and you can be depressed, right? That is because it is entirely in your head and about your past, about your relationship, about what happened to you as a child that dictates how it is that you feel mentally. You cannot say that senior partners have any sort of objective thing to do with that. We simply don't stand for any of that. Secondly though, like, they never answered Helene's question about what partners actually form these initiatives, right? Like, they wanted to say that all partners work at a law firm, and because they are a partner, ipso facto, they have to pay the bills for your counselling, right? Crap, right? We say that particularly in large law firms, the reality of your day-to-day existence dictates between 3 or 4 employees who you work with or your immediate boss, who then answers to their immediate boss, who answers to their immediate boss, who once a month calls their partner in Hong Kong, right? We don't think that there is any sort of nexus between how a partner reacts in their day-to-day life and how a junior employee 5 years or less in a law firm in Brisbane is going to be able to deal with that. Mike said, well, no, it's okay, right, because, like, it plays some sort of part, right? We think that's good enough here. Like, what a rubbishly shit burden to set on something, right? I told you in a POI, like, girlfriends and partners, right, are often the major contributor to mental health, right? No. What? Grown-ups are talking now. No. What we say is that if you try to, like, hold every person responsible for, like, any, like, unquantifiable part of mental anguish they may have had on your life, you are going to have, like, the most stupidly civil action suits, like, in history. You have to start, like, a mental anguish court to try to deal with that, right? We don't understand, no thank you, why they wanted to pick out law firms for that sort of district. The last thing that we wanted to say, though, is that this is in fact not the best method if you want law firms to deal with mental anguish, right? Helene told you, no, I'll take you after this point, but wait. Helene told you that if you tell them that all they have to do is pay counselling costs, and that's fine, the problem goes away, that gives no initiatives for partners to want to provide, like, shorter working hours, to provide regulations, and a work-life balance, because now you're telling them that regardless of those initiatives, they're going to have to pay the fees. We think that what they're going to do is they're going to, like, work you to the fucking bone because they're paying for the end result anyway. We think that's the worst result. Then,
can you please explain how your model will create these initiatives to do something about it when, whereas our model won't, when we have what you guys said was a monetary incentive that they don't want to pay?
Okay, firstly, it was never our burden to prove that we have the cure to mental illness. That's what you guys are proposing. We're telling you that it's going to fuck on that. Secondly, though, what I just told you was that we think you destroy the ability of law firms to be able to create initiatives because you're not giving senior partners incentives because they're paying for it anyway, right? We think that since you put that band-aid solution of the monetary counselling going, here you go, we've solved mental anguish in law firms, we don't think that addresses the problem. We don't think that sheds light on the problem. In fact, we think it hides it behind that arbitrary solution. Second question, what's best for employees, right? The simplistic analysis from Jess went like this. They're going to get counselling, we think that's good. Like, hurrah, right? Like, we had a couple of far more in-depth solutions to that. Firstly, we sold you that partners aren't interested in the same things that people who suffer mental anguish are interested in when they go to counselling, right? We heard from 4 speakers over a period of an hour and a half this morning that people go to counselling oftentimes for intended extended periods of time with no end date. We heard that there's often no cure to mental illness and it's something that is something that has to be constantly worked on. We think that is entirely something that partners don't want, right? Because firstly, this is a bullshit overhead cost to them that's costing them money for no significant gain. So we think when you walk into work and you're going to counselling, they're going, how far are you off being cured? I don't want to pay for you anymore, right? We think that's incredibly detrimental to employees who suffer. Second, we think that you are taught and a creature will be created where you're not able to talk about your mental health issues because partners don't want to pay that money, right? We think what you create is a culture where they hide you, where they move you, if you fire you, and they fire you if you start to present mental health issues because you're not worth the extra $10,000 a year to that company that's going to cost to keep you on. Third though, we think employees aren't going to want to come forward and get counselling in the first place. Why? Because firstly, we think they want that promotion, Mr. Speaker. We don't think they want to be taught, seen as that crazy guy, because Mike gave you the analysis, right, that mental illness is still construed to being psychopathic crazy killers. And we think that employees don't want that stigma, they won't come forward, and this is a disincentive to get the counselling that they need. At the end of this debate, they needed to tell you why partners are morally obliged to do so, and why it's good for the employees. They failed on both counts, the motion must fall.
Yeah.